So welcome to my first thoughts on The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, that day has finally arrived, and I've been playing it for a few days now, and I really want to come in and give my first thoughts with no spoilers. And before I begin, I will ask you guys, are you excited about this game? Are you playing this game? Is it living up to your expectations? Let me know down below. Very interested to hear what you guys have to say about this game, because it is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And we have to go back to March 3rd, 2017. A small system was coming out, the Nintendo Switch, and it had a launch title, and that was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild right here. And I played this game over at Victor Lucas's place back then, and I was blown away. I was like, this is extraordinary. And then I went off to do my own review of the game in a forest, which was really, really funny. And I made an outlandish claim that people were like, there's no way. And I was like, yes, it's 6 years later. I still feel this way. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time. It is. I know Phantasy Star is there nostalgically, but Breath of the Wild blew me away. I had never seen anything like this, with the size of the world, the way you could explore it, all of the things that you could do within it. I'd never seen anything like it. And so I got lost in the world, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can get through this game because it was so gigantic. I remember thinking that at the time, and then before I knew it, I was at the end of the game, and I fell in love, and it was amazing. And I will always love that game to death. So that brings us to the new game. How is this new game compared to Breath of the Wild? Like is it a comparison? I don't want to do a comparison, but I knew that the gameplay would be a little bit the same, but they would be building upon that. And I want to say that yes, they've really built upon that, almost to an unbelievable, intense degree. And I'm going to say that. Okay, let's start off at the beginning here with the storyline. You're with Princess Zelda in the beginning, and you're kind of researching some stuff that's been going on, some bad stuff that's been going on in the world, and you're trying to get to the bottom of it. No pun intended. And as you get to the bottom of it, you figure out what's going on. There's a new evil that's rising up into the world, and you get separated from Zelda, and you begin again. And what's tough in the beginning is you lose all of your health, all of your items. You're reduced down to 3 hearts. And I'm like, I've been here before at the beginning of Breath of the Wild. Here we go again, because we're going into a brand new open world here. And as I stepped out, I must admit, the one thing that's been building in me, and I'm sure for a lot of you guys, is that I've been excited about this game, but I've almost been like kind of scared about it, because I knew what a huge ordeal it is to take on, because I knew how massive in scope it was going to be. So when I stepped out into the world, I kind of looked out and I was like, yeah, let's do this. This is going to be a heck of a challenge, because I finished every Zelda game. There's no way I'm not finishing this game. And so I step out into the world, and the one thing I want to say, and I say this with a lot of love, is I think the graphics are amazing. And I also think that they're decent. You know what I mean? They didn't blow me away like they did in Breath of the Wild the first time I saw them. I was like, wow. But we're 6 years later on the Nintendo Switch still, and I think that we've reached the level of graphic fidelity that we can reach. So the graphics are a mixed bag for me. I'm running around and I think the structures of certain buildings and mountains and all that look phenomenal. I will definitely say that the enemies look extraordinary, but it doesn't blow me away, especially coming off games like Horizon Forbidden West and things like that. I mean, so right now I think the graphics are really good, but they don't blow me away. I love the cell shading though. I always did in the original and all that. The one thing I'll say is, yes, there is some graphic pop-ups here and there, but here's my point of what I want to say. The one thing that this game does, the physics in it are absolutely astronomical, and they're intense. And why I mean that is that there are new abilities that you get through this brand new arm mechanism that open up this game in ways that I have never seen in any video game in history. And the problem solving and puzzle solving are on a whole other level. And I'm saying that Breath of the Wild's puzzles were something else. They were really good. But this just opens up the world in a whole different way. The way that you can use your brain to go through this world so many ways. It's almost overwhelming in the sense of you're given all these tools and the creators just say, go for it. Go figure it out. And you're like, okay. And so a lot of in the game you can attach certain things, attach things to certain weapons, which create such complicated combinations. There's so many combinations. There were so many puzzles I got to. I was like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Maybe I'll attach this to this. I'll attach that to that. I'm through the level. And I'm like, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. And that's what I want to say is that the puzzle stuff, and I want to say, I don't like puzzles in video games. I'm one of those guys. But the puzzles here, you can sit and figure it out if you think about it. They give you the pieces. You just got to put them together. And as I say, the combinations to get through certain levels are extraordinary. And the sense of fulfillment is a sense of fulfillment that I've never gotten any game like this. Not quite like this. They create a sandbox for you and just let you play within it. And I really like that. You get a real sense of fulfillment in anything that you finish, in anything that you do. The sense of exploration is gigantic, exciting, and very addicting. I want to say I was playing in the other room before I came in to do this video. I was working on this one puzzle. I won't even get into it. And I'm assembling things. I'm putting everything together. I'm trying to create a gigantic bridge from one section to another. And it fell down the ravine. And I was like, okay, it's time to come in and do the video now. But it was so much fun figuring that kind of stuff out. You have a lot of failures. But when you get the successes, that's when this game shines so brightly. And as I say, the graphics are good. They don't blow me away. But it's the gameplay that shines here. And in a way that when I was a kid playing The Legend of Zelda, I never could have imagined in the future that we would be seeing physics like we are in this game. And not only that, the random encounters with enemies. The one thing that is back is the breakable weapons. I know a lot of you out there hated the breakable weapons with a passion. And I was a little bit with you. I'm one of the people that kind of enjoyed it. It created a sense of danger. I wasn't just swiping my weapon over and over and over again. I had the idea that, hey, I better conserve some weapons for when I get to some bosses, and I'll use these crappy weapons on the weak enemies. And so, yeah, that's what I want to say is that this game is gigantic. It's so big and overwhelming that there's a couple of times where you just go, I haven't even scratched the surface of it. And that's what I had in the original game. And that's what we have here. I think this game is an extraordinary accomplishment in video gaming. I mean, I've seen the reviews. The reviews are like 10 out of 10. I get it. I get it because it's the core game. It's the core game. And I mean, it's the little touches. It's the little things. When you run into a room and a bat flies through it, or you see a little insect, those little touches, every part of the world feels handcrafted, not just like, oh, we'll put this here, we'll put that there. It feels like there's love throughout every single level in this. And so I even said in the original game that when you go from A to C and the B's in the middle, the amount of things in between all of them, to get there is fulfilling. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going over here. The one thing in this game that you will never be is bored. You will never be bored for what my brain has had no chance to be lazy and go, oh yeah, we'll just go up there. It's always like, I got to figure this out to do that, to do this, to do this. But it's not annoying. It's not annoying in some puzzles in some games can be. It's always one of those things that you're given the tools, as I say, and if you use them correctly, you'll get through it. And then you just keep on getting new tools added on and new tools added on, getting better weapons and upgrading everything. The addiction in this game is so real that I can't believe it's summertime and Vancouver rains for like 8 months out of the year. And I'm always so looking forward to summer. Well, guess what? I ain't seen summer. That ain't happening because I'm doing this game. And so that's where I'm going to be. If you're wondering where I am online, I'm playing this game. I'm trying to get through this game. And maybe in the future, I'll be able to do some final thoughts on it. That's for sure. But an extraordinary job by Nintendo here. A real extraordinary job. Be a believer. Play the game for yourself. Play the game for yourself. Get all the tools. Go play in its world that they've created for you. And also back again is the subtle music. It's always there when it needs to be. It's not there when it doesn't. It adds to the atmosphere and all that. And here are my final thoughts on the game so far. It really takes a hand from Studio Ghibli films. This feels like a Miyazaki game created. And I think Nintendo has really looked at Miyazaki and some of the films he's done, especially Laputa and Nausicaa and things like that. I just feel that a lot of the world building that's been going on in here has been inspired by some of that anime from Japan back in the past, and I think it's wonderful. There's even Princess Mononoke bits, and I won't ruin any of that for you until you see it. Then you're like, yeah, I know exactly what that is. It's right in the beginning of the game, just so you know. So, guys, what are you thinking of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? Is it living up to your expectations? Is it kind of letting you down a little bit? I'd be surprised if that's the case. But you know what? Let me know down below. So anyways, guys, until next time.